Arcade Fire, an indie/art rock outfit consisting of 6 members with couple Win Butler and Reggie Chasagny as centre stage. Forming in 2001 in their academic years, the band has 5 studio albums under their belt, with the latest being something I don't want to talk about. Also, they're based in Canada.
Alright, we're actually excited for this one now. So let's just get into it.
We're back.
Yeah.
Arcade Fire.
We are happy and enthused as fuck for an album like named after a ceremony of death.
Regine, that's one of my points.
It's just Regine?
Yeah, look, it's just Regine.
Oh my god.
On vocal. Yes, she's back.
She was
there first, and my god.
Whoops, it turns out that information is actually wrong. This album doesn't mark as Regine Chassage's first vocal appearance in released music ever. She actually had a feature as a soprano vocal on tracks 1, 11, and 12 of the 1998 Cirque du Soleil album Quidam, and the 2003 self-titled Arcade Fire EP did out as well. She did vocals there. Sorry, we got it wrong.
The first point I want to talk about is the last song and her vocals on it, because man, I was nearly in tears. I was shivering from that last rise that she does at the end. She sounds like she's got a lump in her throat anyway, but in the same way that 5 years, Bowie just gets gradually more and more emotional through it. This was even more personal. Like with Bowie's, I feel like it's a story. It's
an observation of the world around him in an apocalyptic scenario.
Yeah.
It's all from her perspective. The face value sense of this is just her being in the backseat of a car and the position of peace and not like the world not asking a lot from her in that point.
She's just like she's getting driven along. She's being taken on this journey, but she's not in control of it. That's what I got from the metaphor. But then looking online, it's actually about her mother's death and her driving to her funeral.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And that just made me shiver thinking about it just then. It's fucking sad, and I hope Genius is correct, because if it's not, then I look like a fucking dollar. That's how I also think it's from that personal perspective as well.
You hear that in her vocal performance
you just,
as well.
God, if it sounds awful, but her mum dying created something so good.
Don't fucking say that.
But she didn't die in vain, did she?
We all know that like emotional turmoil can channel into a fantastic performance because of how emotional.
She's just pouring buckets on you.
It's one of the highest points. It's like one of the highest points, if not the apex of emotional rawness in vocal delivery on this album. Something I think is lacking from new Arcade Fire material.
It's the most emotionally raw I've heard any vocal, and she keeps on pitch as well. To which I was like, fuck off.
The instrumentation reads as emotive as the vocal it's providing for.
It's not overpowering, but it keeps her in the spotlight, which it needs to. I don't enjoy the very last part of the song.
Yeah.
But the way they are fading out is nice, because it makes it feel like the whole machine of this album is coming to a stop, with all of the instruments gradually playing their parts down and then coming out, and I don't know what that was.
I guess you can think of these things as mechanical. A lot of
I don't want to, I guess, with that song.
The songs do sort of read as sequenced, not in an overly digital way, but just the way the structures play out in this linear way, like on the track Power Out with the constant drum beat. I think that song, just instrumentally, and maybe song structure-wise, might be one of my least favoured songs in the track list. I do appreciate the sort of really sizable textures that they're working with. I just think the intricacies of it get a little drowned out with the mixing, and I think the mixing is generally the album's Achilles heel, something that they were going to
there's
improve.
just a lot of stuff that's ungratifying, particularly stuff that's distorted, like guitars. They're brittle.
Yeah, they sort of sit a bit like brittle and thin against each other, especially in that song when you've got all these running lanes.
In that song though, I got the feeling of a western though when it comes into the chorus.
It's detached from the album's theme, but if we're really going to just talk about how we interpret these songs just from them sitting with us for so long, I guess you can kind of set the track to like a desert landscape with like a rider on horseback. And then, it's got that sort of like linear progressing just voyage sound.
And I enjoyed the guitar part that comes later on because it just completely changed up the feel of it. It's just syncopated.
You're going from like long sustaining notes to something that's like bringing a more groove-centric element. Switches
and
up.
it was fun and quirkier than like other parts of the song.
Some of the moments here are pretty scary, like sonically they're just a bit shocking. You've got that moment where the instrumentation just breaks away, the drums are more in focus, and then Win Butler's just going like, "What's the plan?" And you get all these like rising 16th note guitars, and there's a moment in Leica, everyone who's occupying vocals in the track just all comes together, fucking screaming into their microphones
with that guitar going.
That track's got like a great sense of ebb and flow between the more gentle textures and like the more visceral, fucking aggressive sounds.
That's something that goes like well in this album with the flow as well. It's normally in the same song, but you get like the complete contrast between those abrasive guitars and dainty bells and maybe synths.
And more just like very melancholic string sections as well. Which, to talk about it, Owen Pallett is he's your boy with fucking handling strings. My god, some of the arrangements and just the way the strings tie together in this like legato form, they just feel like they have so much body and movement. They sound so alive and fucking sad as well. They sound like they're weeping with the rest of the song, and it's just like, it's heart-wrenching. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. We're done.
We're not.
No, we're not. I'm kidding.
We got to speak about kettles.
If we're talking more about just like our own self-applied metaphors and context that we put these songs into, the song just basically sounds like a slow sunrise in the morning with like kettles flicked on. I'm making like a cup of tea.
That's a good metaphor. I didn't think of it like that, but
subject matter doesn't go there, but still.
What I was going to say was the instrumentation around the kettle samples is fucking brilliant for keeping coherency of this sound effect, because you've got these really high violins and a really high woodwind.
They're matching
and they're like
piece of Foley.
They're matching. Well, they're in the same octave, so there are parts later in the song. Well, I don't know for sure if it is still the kettle or not, because that woodwind, maybe piccolo, I don't know. I'm not too
maybe
good
even
at
the high strings.
Yeah, they're flickering about just like the kettle is, even though the kettle's slowly rising.
I think the bittersweetness that ties a lot of these tracks together is prevalent in a lot of the lyrics, but it shines mostly through in the chord progressions.
Especially Crown of Love.
Yeah. One of my favourites, I'm gonna say.
Yeah. My main problem with that song though is it going into 4/4.
You don't like the transition?
I don't think it's awful. I just don't think it needs to, and I guess I was sort of biased because I was wanting it just to stay there and fade out gradually.
I do like the time signature and tempo switch. I just think that the 3/4 or 6/8 time signature just contributes to the like romantic feel of the song.
It suited it.
I mean, to bring it to a technical degree, the fact that a waltz is like this harmonious dance between two people, and that being driven by a 3/4 time signature.
You're just trying it on with me.
No, I'm not fucking gonna waltz with you, man. Did you have anything to say on the lyrics?
The lyrics? Nah. Well, yeah, they were. That's where the bittersweet part of it comes along, because it's a love song, but it's about all of the heartbreak of love and how it pains.
I'm guessing that some of the lyrics evoke a sense of falling out of love as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just like...
There's that constant repeated talk of pain in it.
And the crown of love falling from him.
guess it's sort of sappy, but it's sweet. It's really sweet.
They avoid the cliches of love as one of the hugest topics in music, period.
I did think a lot, well, some of the harmony was, that is one of the things that is more towards the indie side.
Especially in the opening track, which is, in parts, I have a whole point on why I think it's fucking great, actually. Neighborhood 1, Tunnels, definitely one of my favourites in the track listing, and I think just as an album opener, it really paves the way for the rest of the album to come. As far as like setting, I want to say the stage, because the album is so dramatic sonically, and
well, that was going to be one of my points. I think that the way this album gets away from the indie tropes more and makes them fresh is partly to do with how emotive the vocals are. All of them are just so empowering, I guess, sort of.
To where, like, commonly I would point a vocalist out on their faults of just saying, oh, they're fucking falling off pitch. But when Butler, just every little crack and burst in his voice.
It sounds real.
It sounds real, and it's enhancive of the passion in his delivery. It just fucking highlights the, like, emotive detail in his lyrics and in his performance, and it thus complements the rest of the song with all this other passionate instrumentation going on. So much fucking passion everywhere. Not every indie band could bring that. In that same song, the band clearly lose their initial sense of tempo, but they don't fucking care.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. No, I just really admire that rather than choosing to, like, maybe do another take or something, they just don't fight against the natural order of their own passion, and they just keep going.
I don't really understand how they would have done the take for In the Backseat. I just can't comprehend in my head how she was able to build up so much emotion while you're in a studio and relay that in such a clear way to the audience. Like I said, she was still on pitch, so they didn't have to stop any of it and re-record. Like, if they did re-record it, then fuck, they planned it well, like her rising up to this emotion, but I'm guessing they did it in one take because of her slowly and gradually getting more and more emotional.
It's a big centerpiece, and part of this album's appeal is just the emotional
I guess that's why it's called Funeral too.
Yeah, you could go so far as to say. Maybe one of the darkest tracks is the second in the track list, Leica. There's a sense of ebb and flow between each track on the album, like bringing a storm of a track and then a more subdued one.
Yeah, the flow's pretty good. It's not the best flow I've ever heard.
It offers a nice sense of variety to the album while sticking to the band's sonic palette. They introduce, like, new instrumentation here and there along the way, but generally they keep to their bearings. But their bearings are fucking sizable.
It reminded me of Father John Misty's I Love You Honey Bear in the way that it takes on different genres and styles, but it was way more subtle. Like, so you've got the French accordion.
The way they tackle all this instrumentation, or the way they work with it, they just managed to find a way to weave everything so, like, carefully together. You're able to tell what piece of instrumentation is happening at any given time. The view, or the sound, is very panoramic and wide, grandiose. But to be able to pick out those little pieces of detail and tell things apart is still there. It's just like looking at a really gorgeous painting of all the things that are happening.
Yeah, and it's like, it's an emotional painting. It wouldn't be perfect at all, but it's got the raw energy of the band there, which I think sometimes is way more important than the clean production. I mean, it would have helped them having a producer that would have given them a punchier, more separated sound, but on the other hand, they could have got a producer that just made them fucking boring.
Having said that, I do think that the production on the vocals is part of the album's weakness in its own sonic palette.
They're really roomy.
Very roomy.
They
clip a lot.
if I'm honest, I don't mind the clipping.
I just think that the vocals, since they carry the lyrics, they are a crucial part to this panoramic picture that the band is attempting to create. And the fact that they get a bit lost sometimes kind of makes me there was just more clarity happening. Not to like over refined studio polish degree, because then I think the sense of whimsy could have been lost. There's a lot of tracks that go full throttle with that. Maybe to a degree where they're like overly bright and don't render out as some of my favourite tracks in the album. Like
Wake Up, like Alfie hates Wake Up.
I don't hate it. I just think it's just really overblown and like, here guys, you know what indie music is? Let's have an indie music melody.
I don't think it's
all
that
over
bad.
The chorus.
I don't think it's that bad because Wim Butler's vocals get really emotive.
They do. That's what I find forgiving about it, is that the emotion is still there.
I would rather some of that more intricate instrumentation, like the harp, which I love how it comes in slowly and speeds up as the chorus is coming in. But I'd rather that than the slow building of Rebellion, Lies, and a constant eighth note. And that also has a really prominent indie harmony, especially the chorus.
I don't have a problem with slow music, don't get me wrong. But it is the slowest in the track list. The chord progressions, the guitar strumming, the fucking is so like it's maybe I'm just a cynical prick, but it's like it's so overly bright, so saccharine and rejoicing, but I just don't like the chorus. I don't like the like Coldplay as fuck melody, just going like it's just sort of like washing over the whole thing. I do find it pretty overblown. It is maybe my least favourite track in the track listing, but I find myself forgiving it and being able to listen to it when I'm going through this album in full in the times we have preparing for this review. Just out of the passion is still there in the vocals, the textures are still rich and lush. It's just maybe too much of a dense wall for me to like want to sit through and pick things apart, because generally I can't. It's so like glued together. I do still admire and appreciate the very like jagged string sections, and even just the reintroduction of the harp playing like a plodding arpeggio, riding across the scale of what the band is playing at the time in the song. Even still, I don't know how I feel about the sudden change to this more like doo-wop-y, swung, like lively instrumentation and sound at the end. I think it's kind of an awkward shift. It also just spells out like the band being a bit too saccharine for my taste. I do prefer them when they sort of try to balance things out with more melancholy elements.
Fair enough.
I mean, having said that, Haiti is like the second most whimsical sounding song in the album. But even still, that at least has like a more defined sense of groove. It's more danceable.
I think it's my third to me, but like after
least favourite, you mean?
Yeah, my third least.
Our least favourite songs seem to be the ones that connect the dots between themselves, of like being the most potently and uninventively indie, whereas like the rest of the album, Arcade Fire, forges more of a melancholic, it can be bright, but it's just sort of balanced out and contrasted between like emotional ranges. I think that's sort of the aesthetic that the album was attempting to carve from the beginning, and these tracks sort of interrupt that in place of just like more tropified indie music. It's still all very blissful, it's still very like awe-inspiring of a sound. It's just, I don't know, we prefer hearing that contrast generally.
This is how I feel about the album.
The way I feel about Arcade Fire Funeral is stop looking at me.